I'm going to jump into the evidence of John Scott to the Post Office Horizon IT inquiry, and he is a former security manager at the Post Office, a role he held for a number of years up until 2016. Jason Beer goes through his background with him, but he seems to omit the fact that he was a former police officer from his background. Is there any reason for this? Let's jump into the inquiry.
Good morning, sir. Can you see and hear me?
Yes, I can, thank you.
Thank you very much. May I call John Scott?
If you repeat after me, I swear by Almighty God.
I swear by Almighty God.
That the evidence I shall give.
That the evidence I shall give.
Shall be the truth.
Shall be the truth.
The whole truth.
The whole truth.
And nothing but the truth.
And nothing but the truth.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Scott. As you know, my name is Jason Beer and I ask questions on behalf of the inquiry. Can you tell us your full name, please?
John Michael Scott.
Thank you very much for coming to assist the inquiry in its work and for previously providing 2 witness statements to the inquiry. We're very grateful. Before I ask you questions about your witness statements, I think the chairman will deliver a warning.
Mr. Beer, can you tell me whether Mr. Scott is legally represented this morning?
Yes, he is.
By a solicitor and counsel, or just solicitor?
Both.
Thank you. Mr. Scott, a witness at a public inquiry has the right to decline to answer a question put to him by counsel to the inquiry, by any recognised legal representative, or by me, if there is a risk that the answer to that question would incriminate the witness. This principle of our law is known in shorthand form as the privilege against self-incrimination. I have decided, Mr. Scott, that fairness demands that I remind you of that principle before you give your evidence. However, I should also tell you that it is for you to make clear to me that in respect of any question put to you, it is your wish to rely upon the privilege. If therefore any questions are put to you by any of the lawyers who asks you questions, or by me, which you do not wish to answer on the ground that the answer to such questions might incriminate you, you must tell me immediately after the question is put to you. At that point, I will consider your objection and thereafter rule upon whether you should answer the question or whether the objection should be upheld. As you've just heard me inquire, you are represented here today by counsel and a solicitor. No doubt if the issue relating to self-incrimination arises, they will assist you, and if at any stage during the questioning you wish to consult your lawyers about the privilege, you must tell me so that I can consider whether that is appropriate. Do you understand what I just sought to explain to you, Mr. Scott?
Yes.
So by no means the only one to get the self-incrimination warning, but certainly there's a select group of people at the inquiry who've got the self-incrimination warning. All witnesses have the right to not incriminate themselves at the public inquiry, but some get an extra special reminder of that, presumably because some of the planned questions may well lead in that direction or have the potential to lead in that direction.
Thank you very much. Then please begin the questioning, Mr. Beer.
Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Scott, you should have in front of you a hard copy of a witness statement in your name and dated the 12th of May 2023. If you turn to the last page of it, which should be page 47, there should be a signature. Is that your signature?
Yes.
With the corrections that you subsequently made in your second witness statement, more of which in a moment, are the contents of that first statement true to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes.
Thank you. For the purposes of the transcript, the URN for that first witness statement is WITN 0389-0100. There's no need to display that at the moment. You produced a second witness statement of your own volition yesterday, and there should be a hard copy of that in front of you. Is that right?
That's correct, yes.
And if you go to, I think it's the 9th page, is that right?
Page 10, yes.
10, in fact, okay. Is that your signature?
Yes.
And are the contents of that witness statement true to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes.
So that's interesting. We've seen many people before do kind of live corrections to it, if you like, during the inquiry. There, John Scott, of his own volition, has produced a second witness statement, presumably to have the same effect, to clarify or remove or change things from his original witness statement. So Jason Beer might dive into that more shortly.
The URM for that is WITN 0839 0200. Again, there's no need to display it. Can I start, please, with your career qualifications and experience? I think it's right, isn't it, that you were employed by the Post Office and cognate organisations between February 1993 and September 2016, is that right?
Yes.
And so for 23 and a half years.
Yes.
If we go to your first witness statement, please, so WITN 0839 0100.
So he certainly had a long career at the Post Office, and predating Horizon and through pretty much the vast majority of the period of the Post Office scandal.
It'll come up on the screen for you. Thank you, and go to page 2 and look under the heading background at paragraph 5. Under the heading background, you tell us, quote, I have an MSc in security and risk management, focusing on preventative security and criminology. I also have other supporting industry qualifications, such as a diploma in anti-money laundering. Is that right?
Yes.
I think it's also right that you are a former police officer.
Yes.
Can you tell us how long you served in the police service for?
About 7 years.
And between what years was that?
1984 to 1992.
84 to 92.
Yes.
Thank you very much. And were you a uniformed officer or a detective?
The vast majority uniform, a very small part as a detective for about 3 months.
And what rank were you when you left?
Sergeant.
That's an interesting career path, to kind of get a promotion and leave quite quickly. Maybe it just didn't suit him, or maybe the job opportunity at Post Office was a big pull, because he obviously ended up holding quite a senior position at the Post Office.
Were you trained in and did you operate under the Police and Criminal Evidence Act 1984?
Yes.
Did you construct files for advice to be given on charging decisions?
I submitted files to the CPS, yes.
I'm sorry?
I submitted files to the CPS.
Yes, and so you put files up to the CPS to make charging decisions, is that right?
Yes.
Did you ever make decisions about charging suspects with offences yourself?
Not that I recall, no.
Were you familiar with the terms of an operation of the Code for Crown Prosecutors?
At that time, I can't recall, to be honest.
You tell us in this statement here your background, and you tell us about your MSc in security and risk management. You don't mention here that you were a police officer. Was there any reason for that?
No, not really. It's we got a significant amount of documentation and pages with a very limited time in which to respond to lots of questions. So it was a challenge just to get the statement in, to be honest.
Did the documents that we sent you assist you to remember whether or not you were a police officer?
I knew I was a police officer.
So I'm asking you, in your background here, you tell us about your MSc. Mm-hmm. You don't tell us about you being a police officer.
My MSc was done during the Post Office period. They sponsored it, and it's around the preventative, which was the strategy that I was taking within the Post Office.
You knew that in the questions we were asking you to create the witness statement, you were being asked questions about adherence to the law concerning the conduct of criminal investigations and prosecutions, didn't you? That's what the request was all about.
Okay, I understand.
Did you not think it was relevant to say that you were a police officer?
As I say, it was a challenging time to get the statement in and read all the documents.
So it was the volume of documents that meant that you didn't include the fact that you were a police officer?
I have to say I can't recall at that time trying to get the statement in, to be honest, in a challenging time.
So I guess the suggestion in there is it's not a deliberate omission, and that's, potentially relevant because obviously some of the legislation that is being discussed being followed by police officers would also be some of the legislation relevant to the investigation and prosecution of sub postmasters. So quite an important bit of background given the context of the inquiry.